the floor where they drop like bombs. Faceless voices running all the cons. Digital whispers in a binary night. No light, no face, pure sound, no sight. Stories unfold in the dark, unscrolled. Echoes of silence, secrets untold. Waves crash loud in this audio cave. No mic, no fame, just the sound we crave. Tune and turn up, let the silence break. Raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just a vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. In shadows, voices untamed. No need for spotlight, no claim to fame. Just a beat of life in a stream of thought. Every word a punchline, no need to be taught. Just listen close, no visuals needed. Raw conversation, unprocessed, unseated. Feel the pulse in every sentence said. No distractions, just thoughts in your head. Whispers of the streets, rumbling through. Faceless yet vivid, a world in view. No mic, just souls, connecting in flow. Pure and raw, let the rhythm go.
Zimbardo's primary reason for conducting the experiment was to focus on the power of roles, rules, symbols, group identity, and situational validation of behavior that generally would repulse ordinary individuals. I had been conducting research for some years on de-individuation, vandalism, and dehumanization that illustrated the ease with which ordinary people could be led to engage in antisocial acts by putting them in situations where they felt anonymous, or they could perceive of others in ways that made them less than human, as enemies or objects, Zimbardo told the Toronto Symposium in the summer of 1996. Stanford News Service. Philip Zimbardo was an influential American psychologist, best known for his groundbreaking work in social psychology, particularly his controversial 1971 Stanford Prison Experiment. Thanks for reading No Mic Podcast Scribed by Facelesslingjutsu. Subscribe for free to receive new posts and support my work. Philip Zimbardo was born on March 23, 1933, in New York City, and spent his formative years growing up in poverty in the South Bronx. He was the eldest of 4 children in a Sicilian-American immigrant family. His upbringing in this economically strained environment, marked by frequent relocations due to inability to pay rent and a persistent struggle with hunger, significantly influenced his later interest in understanding human behavior and the impact of social situations. He often spoke about how his early experiences with prejudice and discrimination, including being stereotyped due to his Italian heritage, fueled his curiosity about how people behave. Despite the hardships, Zimbardo learned the importance of community and education as catalysts for overcoming poverty. He was the first in his family to pursue a college degree, eventually earning his bachelor's from Brooklyn College, and his master's and doctorate in psychology from Yale University. Philip Zimbardo's academic career began to yield its first published works while he was still establishing himself in the field of psychology. His early research interests were varied, reflecting a burgeoning curiosity about the complexities of human behavior. Even before his highly publicized Stanford Prison Experiment, Zimbardo was actively contributing to scholarly discourse. One of his very early publications, dating back to 1953, focused on the dynamics of prejudice and assimilation among 2 underprivileged minority groups in New York City, a reflection of his own upbringing and observations of social dynamics. As he progressed through his graduate studies at Yale and into his early faculty positions, his publications broadened to include experimental studies on animal behavior, such as the effects of sensory and behavioral deprivation on exploratory behavior in the rat 1957 and the facilitation of exploration by hunger in rats 1958, often co-authored with his mentors or peers. These early works demonstrated his foundational understanding of experimental psychology and behavioral principles. His doctoral dissertation and subsequent early research also delved into social psychological topics, exploring concepts like opinion conformity, anxiety, and social affiliation. For instance, in 1960, he published on involvement and communication discrepancy as determinants of opinion conformity, which originated from his PhD research. He also collaborated on studies examining the relationship between anxiety and verbal behavior in children in the early 1960s. These works showcased his growing interest in how social and emotional factors influence individual actions and perceptions. By the mid-1960s, Zimbardo was also exploring cognitive aspects of motivation, as evidenced by his 1966 paper Cognitive Control of Motivation, and even touched upon legal psychology with articles like The Psychology of Police Confessions in 1967. A significant early contribution to the broader field was his co-authorship of Influencing Attitudes and Changing Behavior in 1969, a textbook that went through revisions and highlighted his expertise in social influence. This publication, along with his role in developing and co-authoring Psychology and Life, an enduring introductory psychology textbook first published in 1971, demonstrates his commitment to both advancing psychological knowledge through research and disseminating it effectively to students and the wider public. These early written works laid the groundwork for his later, more widely recognized studies, establishing him as a versatile and prolific contributor to psychological science. Following his foundational work and early academic publications, Philip Zimbardo continued to deepen his exploration of social psychology, moving into studies that increasingly focused on how situational factors could powerfully influence human behavior. This period, particularly in the late 1960s leading up to the Stanford Prison Experiment in 1971, saw him consolidate his ideas around concepts like de-individuation, anonymity, and the impact of roles and power dynamics. While his early work had touched upon areas such as conformity and cognitive dissonance, Zimbardo began to focus more explicitly on how ordinary individuals could be led to engage in antisocial acts when placed in specific social environments. He conducted research in the late 1960s that examined the causes of vandalism, for instance, theorizing that anonymity and a lack of community could contribute to such behaviors. These studies were instrumental in shaping his conviction that external circumstances often play a more significant role in determining behavior than inherent individual traits or dispositions. It was during this time that he joined the faculty at Stanford University in 1968, a move that provided him with the institutional support and intellectual environment to pursue larger-scale experimental studies. His interest in the psychology of evil and the transformative power of situations was growing, fueled by a desire to understand real-world phenomena like prison brutality and the appeal of cults. He wanted to investigate how roles, rules, symbols, and group identity could validate behaviors that individuals might otherwise find repugnant. This period of research and conceptual development directly culminated in the design and execution of the Stanford Prison Experiment. Zimbardo's objective was to create a controlled environment where he could observe the psychological effects of perceived power and the interaction between assigned roles. He hypothesized that the situational variables within a prison-like setting would override the individual personalities of the participants, leading them to exhibit behaviors consistent with their assigned roles of guard or prisoner. The experiment, initially planned for 2 weeks, was a direct extension of his evolving understanding of how powerful situations could shape human actions, and it brought his work into the international spotlight, albeit with significant ethical considerations. One significant area of focus that emerged after the Stanford prison experiment was Zimbardo's deep dive into the phenomenon of shyness. He saw parallels between the psychological imprisonment experienced by the participants in his prison study and the self-imposed isolation and distress faced by shy individuals. This led him to establish the Shyness Clinic at Stanford University in the 1970s, which later evolved into the Palo Alto Shyness Center. Through this initiative, he conducted extensive research into the causes and manifestations of shyness and developed interventions and therapeutic approaches to help individuals overcome it. His work on shyness resulted in several influential books, including Shyness, What It Is, What to Do About It, which provided practical guidance for individuals and parents. Beyond specific research topics, Zimbardo became increasingly committed to giving psychology away to the public. He believed that psychological insights should be accessible and beneficial to a broad audience, not confined to academic journals. This commitment materialized in the creation and hosting of the acclaimed PBS television series Discovering Psychology. This Emmy Award-winning series, first aired in 1990, became a cornerstone of psychology education, widely used in colleges and universities to introduce students to fundamental psychological concepts through engaging narratives and visual demonstrations. He also continued to be a prolific author, revising and expanding his widely used introductory psychology textbook, Psychology and Life, which remained a staple in psychology curricula for decades. A critical turning point in his later career was the re-examination of the psychology of evil, particularly in light of events like the abuses at Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq. This led to his seminal 2007 book, The Lucifer Effect: Understanding How Good People Turn Evil. In this work, Zimbardo revisited the lessons of the Stanford prison experiment, drawing connections to real-world atrocities and providing a comprehensive framework for understanding how systemic and situational factors can corrupt individuals and institutions. He argued that the evil often lies not in inherent individual disposition but in the barrel, the situation or system, that can shape behavior. Building on his exploration of both the dark and light sides of human nature, Zimbardo later shifted his focus to heroism. Recognizing that just as situations can bring out the worst in people, they can also inspire the best, he founded the Heroic Imagination Project HIP in 2010. This nonprofit organization is dedicated to promoting research, education, and media initiatives aimed at inspiring ordinary people to become everyday heroes and agents of positive social change. HIP's work emphasizes the importance of understanding the bystander effect and developing strategies to overcome inertia and act courageously in challenging situations. Throughout these various endeavors, Zimbardo also dedicated significant attention to the concept of time perspective, developing the Zimbardo Time Perspective Inventory (ZTPI). This tool assesses individuals' orientations toward the past, present, and future, demonstrating how these temporal perspectives influence decision-making, well-being, and overall life outcomes. His work on this topic further underscored his interest in the subtle yet profound psychological factors that shape human experience. Finally, Zimbardo held significant leadership positions within the psychological community, notably serving as the president of the American Psychological Association (APA) in 2002. This role provided him a platform to advocate for psychology's relevance to societal issues and to promote ethical conduct in research, a concern that had deeply impacted him since the Stanford prison experiment. His post-Stanford prison experiment career was thus characterized by a continued dedication to research, a strong commitment to public education, and a profound interest in understanding the full spectrum of human behavior, from its darkest manifestations to its most heroic expressions. Philip Zimbardo, a towering figure in social psychology, passed away peacefully on October 14, 2024, at his home in San Francisco. he was 91 years old. His death marked the end of a long and influential career dedicated to understanding the complexities of human behavior. While his cause of death was not widely publicized, it is understood he died surrounded by his family. Zimbardo's legacy continues to shape discussions in psychology, ethics, and the dynamics of power. Jerry 5486. The most apparent thing that I noticed was how most of the people in this study derive their sense of identity and well-being from their immediate surroundings rather than from within themselves, and that's why they broke down, just couldn't stand the pressure, they had nothing within them to hold up against all of this. Philip G. Zimbardo, The Lucifer Effect, Understanding How Good People Turn Evil. References: Zimbardo, Philip G. Radel, Shirley L. 1981. The Shy Child, A Parent's Guide to Preventing and Overcoming Shyness from Infancy to Adulthood. New York, N. Y. McGraw-Hill. ISBN 978-0-07-072827-1. Tigand, Alina. January 10, 2014. In Life and Business, Learning to be Ethical. The New York Times. Archived from the original on January 20, 2014. Retrieved January 21, 2014. Zimbardo, Philip G. 1977. Shyness, What It Is, What to Do About It. Reading, Massachusetts Addison Wesley Publ. ISBN 978-0-201-08793-2. The Lucifer Effect by Philip Zimbardo. www.lucifereffect.com. Retrieved November 12, 2024. The Time Paradox, The New Psychology of Time That Will Change Your Life. www.thetimeparadox.com. Retrieved November 12, 2024. Shyness Institute. Shyness.com. January 30, 2023. Retrieved November 11, 2024. Discovering Psychology, Updated Edition. 26 half-hour video programs and coordinated books. Annenberg Learner. 2001. ISBN 1-57680-414-3. Archived from the original on January 11, 2012. Retrieved November 9, 2024. Slavic, George M. 2009. On 50 Years of Giving Psychology Away, an interview with Philip Zimbardo. American Psychological Association. 36-4, 278-284. doi 10.1080009862809031757772. Retrieved January 9, 2024. Emperor of the Edge. Psychology Today. Retrieved January 5, 2018. Philip Zimbardo Obituary 1933 to 2024, Legacy Remembers. Legacy.com. Retrieved October 19, 2024. Phil Zimbardo Remembers. Neil Miller. April 15, 1954. Archived from the original on October 8, 2011. Retrieved November 7, 2011. Reginald, Robert. 2009. 1974. Contemporary Science Fiction Authors. Wildside Press. p. 297. Mrs. Zimbardo Has Son. The New York Times. November 14, 1962. p. 46.
Mics on the floor where they drop like bombs. Faceless voices running all the cons. Digital whispers in a binary night. No light, no face, pure sound, no sight. Stories unfold in the dark, unscrolled. Echoes of silence, secrets untold. Waves crash loud in this audio chaos. turn up, let the silence break. Raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just the vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. Hidden in shadows, voices untamed. No need for spotlight, no claim to fame. Just the beat of life in a stream of thought. Every word a punchline, no need to be taught. Just listen close, no visuals needed. Raw conversation, unprocessed, unseated. Feel the pulse in every sentence said. No distractions, just thoughts in your head. Whispers of the streets, rumbling through. Faceless yet vivid, the world in view. No mic, just souls connecting in flow. Pure and raw, let the rhythm go. Pure and raw. Pure and raw. Turn up, let the silence break. Raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just the vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. Tune in, turn up, let the silence break. Raw, unfiltered, hear the earthquake. No mic needed, just the vibe that's real. Faceless words you can touch and feel. Pure and raw.
Play.